I'm here on maternity leave taking care of our little one, and as bonus material, Mandy wanted me to go through my horror novel collection. I don't have a big collection, but I have it displayed in the cabinet behind me mostly, and there is a shelf on a second bookshelf in the hallway. So first we'll go through the one behind me. I have a collection that I'm starting with Stephen King hardcovers. I decided that about 2 years ago that I was going to search for the hardcover versions of his novels because I was seeing a lot coming up at the secondhand stores that we frequent. Ironically enough, since I made that decision, I haven't found many hardcovers at the thrift shops. It seems that somebody probably gave up their collections at the times that I went there and seen the volume of hardcovers, and it just hasn't happened since. So I'm still on the lookout for those. And we're going to go through the shelf behind me. So you're going to have 4 shelves with different horror novels on them, and there's some of my collector pops as well. These are ones that I've taken out of the box. I know the collectors are kind of rolling their eyes, but that's what I bought them for. So they're out of the box, they're on the shelf, exactly what I bought them for. So here we go. This first shelf is going to be a little bit shaky because my stand for my camera isn't at the right height for it. It's a little bit too high. But this is my Stephen King collection for the most part. There's one more novel on the shelf below, and we'll get into that. Also on the shelf, there are some Lars Kepler series. That's just because they fit best there opposed to anywhere else. So the Stephen King collection is right here. I've got some from different years. Not on the shelf is The Stand. I have it both in softcover and ebook. It was the book I had when I got my first e-reader, so I bought it a second time. You're welcome, Stephen King. You've got my money twice on that one. The majority of these I haven't read yet, just because they're on my to-read list. I did read Gerald's Game, but I have not read Dolores Claiborne. I've seen the movie though, but I know that doesn't count. Stephen King Revival, that one's really good. I did really enjoy that one. I actually borrowed that book to read it, and then I found my own copy. Further down the line, behind the old Pennywise, is Mr. Mercedes in that series. I've read the first one. I haven't read the second two yet, or the second one and the third one yet, but I'm looking forward to it. The last two there, the green and the red, the Pet Sematary and Salem's Lot, I've read both of those, and they're my 2 favorites, so I really can't wait to find those in hardcover. And if I find them in different releases, I will buy them. It's going to be bad. Also on the shelf is a new series that I found. It's the Hypnotist series by Lars Kepler. This is a series that was staged in Norway. It's written by a couple. Lars Kepler is their pen name. I've read The Hypnotist and The Nightmare, but I haven't gotten any farther with that series just because my to-read list is a little bit longer than the time I have available. And the last one for that one is The Fire Witness, and that one's over on top there. In front, I do have my It pops. I have a couple of Pennywises, and the yellow jacket with the boat, love it. I'm on the hunt for the gutter one where Pennywise is in the gutter. Alright. So this shelf here has the Stephen King Needful Things. It doesn't quite fit on my Stephen King shelf, but I look forward to doing some rearranging when I get some more Stephen Kings, and I'll move the Lars Kepler version off that top shelf. Here are my James Patterson books as well. There's 2 on the shelf in the hallway. The majority of my James Patterson I have on my e-reader. I've read a large volume of those books, and I quickly learned I can get through those books, so I started buying them electronically versus hard copy, just because I don't have enough space for all of the James Patterson section. I noticed at Chapters they do have a whole shelf titled James Patterson, and I just don't have that much space to commit to his novels. I do really enjoy his series though. The NYPD Red is really awesome, and I am a big fan of the Women's Murder Club. He releases a new Women's Murder Club book at the end of April every year, just before my birthday. So as my gift, I go and buy that book. I think they're at 18 now, 17 or 18. I've read them all completely up to date, and I would highly recommend them if you want to get into a large, easy to read series. That's quite interesting. You also learn to love the characters throughout the books, and it's actually heartbreaking to see and read what some of them go through. In the center there, I do have some hardcover special editions. The top one there, Frankenstein, is one of my favorites. These books are either like a faux leather or faux suede or like a cotton binding hardcover with embossments. They're all horror related, and I'm really excited to find more in that genre. I haven't read the other three, but I think one is Dracula and the other one is the other two are mixtures of short stories. The Classics of Horrorland Film, that's the black spine with the green letterings. I found that one this year at a big book sale, and it is amazing. It's filled with black and white pictures for older movies in the horror genre, and I do believe I need to pop that one over to Mandy so she can have a look very soon. One of my Buffy ones are on the shelf. I have to figure out how to get that one down to my other Buffy collection. Miss Peregrine's School of Peculiar Children is also on this shelf. This is an amazing series. It's a YA series, but it's so fun. It's the characters are based on old photographs that were found by Ransom Riggs. There are 4 to date, and I would highly recommend pick them up if you want to have like kind of a different read with different characters on it. I do have my Hocus Pocus novel there. I found that one this October past, and I am so stoked because I have not seen it there since. It is a sequel book, and I haven't read it yet, but I'm looking forward to reading it this fall, so hopefully I do get to that. And as you can see, I am a big fan of the Sanderson sisters because they are front and center on this shelf, as well as Jack Nicholson and Freddy Krueger and Jason. Also on the shelf, keeping with the Disney theme on the far end, to the right, are a Disney series that's released. There's 3 books to date. There should be a 4th one coming out this year, I do believe. I'll have to look that up. It is based on the Haunted Mansion, which is one of my favorite rides. Okay, so this is the 3rd shelf in the bookcase. Here has a couple anthologies. Over to the side here on the far left, there is a book of horrors, as well as the Treasury of American Horror Stories, and in the center is the Classic Horror Collection. I have read the Book of Horrors, which is really good. It's got a couple of my favorite stories in it. One involves a tree in the woods that eats children. Very well written, very folklorish. There's also a Stephen King one in that book, and I believe there's a Stephen King story in all of those. I have to double check. Usually that's the draw that gets me in to pick up these anthologies. I've read a couple on this shelf, not a whole lot. Usually this is my shelf that I pick up stuff and they're on my to-read list, and if I like it, I keep it, and if I don't love it, I usually pass it on to somebody else to read, or I donate it to the thrift shop. There's a couple Anne Rice ones here. I'm not going to tell you how long they've been on my shelf because I had intentions of getting into the Anne Rice series quite some time ago, and I didn't quite do that yet. So maybe one of these days I will pick up the Anne Rice novels and get into that series because I hear they're really good. Also, here is the Lock and Key, their center top. I've read a couple of these. I've borrowed them from Mandy, but now I have my own copies. These are by Joe Hill. That's Stephen King's son. They're graphic novels, and there's quite a few out now. I'm not sure the particulars, but Mandy would have that information. To note too, I have 1 and 2 of the Buffy novels. There is a 3rd one. Somebody snatched it at the thrift shop before I got to it, but I do have the first 2 of the 3, and I'm on the hunt for the 3rd one. The Best Friend's Exorcism on the far right. Let's try and get that in view. Yeah, it's like an old cassette book, or old cassette tape, sorry. And it's a funny horror read, and I'd highly recommend it. It's on all kinds of genre, pop culture from the 80s. This is my Goosebumps shelf. I do apologize for the shakiness of the camera because I am sitting on the floor. This is the bottom shelf, and it contains all of my R.L. Stine novels except for the one that's just at the top there in the shelf above, the Superstitions. So all of my Goosebumps novels, original series, are in the back lined off, as well as some of the Choose Your Scares. On top of those, we have my Horrorland collection along with my series 2000 and Most Wanted and some Slappy World. I do have one of the collector tins, the green one. I don't have the purple one, but I'm sure I will add it shortly. I do have a couple of novels up front because of lack of space. I have 2 versions of The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. We'll talk about those cover differences and hopefully the story outline differences when we get to that novel. In front there is Goosebumps, 30 Tales to Give You Goosebumps. That was a gift from my husband. He found it online secondhand, which I didn't know existed, so I was really thrilled to see that, and I can't wait to read it. Mandy actually got me for my birthday last year Goosebumps Wanted, the Haunted Mask hardcover. I love this story and I can't wait to read this novel. When my little one starts crawling around the kitchen, I may have to turn that cover around because he may get nightmares. I personally love it, and I'm sure he will learn to love horror as much as I do. But at the crawling age, it may be a little bit difficult for him. He's calling out there now, so I gotta wrap this up. Just over on the right, the far side, is my Fear Street collection. I don't have a whole lot there. I've picked up whatever I found secondhand. I'm not totally into this series though because it doesn't bring back memories from reading them as a child. I do like R.L. Stine's writing from the time that he's writing Goosebumps, so it's along the same line, only a little bit more advanced. I've also got Red Rain by R.L. Stine, which I've lent out to a friend. Not my favorite book. I like the general story of it, but there are some plot holes. Some definite plot holes. So that is my shelf in the kitchen. I don't have Pops on the bottom 2 shelves. Goosebumps hasn't have their own Funko Pops, which I'm waiting for. Hopefully they come out soon. Alright, so I do apologize for the shakiness. My stand doesn't also reach the shelf. This is the rest of my collection, and the backup vocals are my son's. Do apologize. Agatha Christie's on this shelf. The titles are a little bit hard to read. That's probably as clear as they're going to get. These are anthologies that I picked up secondhand this year, and I'm super excited to read them. Here is also a mix mash of some non-horror books, but James Patterson's also here, The Haunted and The Murder House. That is the extension of my horror shelf. I'm going to pass this off to Mandy because Mandy's going to take you through a tour of hers, and hopefully we'll be back soon to record. See you guys later.